We know many of you out there are done with Marvel and the MCU. You're not coming back. There are no second chances. You're done. Same with Star Wars. Same with the Disney animation movies. And yet, Disney is desperate. In the face of their worst year in modern history, they might be going with a Hail Mary RDJ. Well, the year of reckoning and repentance has begun with Hollywood and the Walt Disney Company as they realize that they have driven away audiences. Their DEI and ESG and Reimagine Tomorrow, all of it, has shellacked their ability to make money and money they need. We're going to be talking about it. Before we do, let's introduce our special guest today, ND Andrew. Andrew of the Rippaverse is here yet again. Andrew, a fan favorite as always. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, bro. I always appreciate being here and creating great content with you.
Well, we enjoy doing so as well. And, you know, we're taking a look right now at the situation these companies are in. Soul, for example, the Pixar film, just released over the weekend, and folks will have a dedicated video coming out soon. Nobody went and saw it. Nobody. Literally nobody. It is abysmal box office time, and Disney is scrambling, trying to find something that will excite people. There's going to be articles. There's going to be commentators out there who say, oh, well, you know, it's been out on Disney Plus for years, so that's why people didn't go see it. It's like, well, you know, Disney probably knew it had been on their streaming service for years.
That's such a non-answer to. I have to cut in because that's such a ridiculous notion. How many years have people who like Star Wars had the Star Wars films, like the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, on VHS and DVD, and yet every single time Disney decides to re-release them in theaters, people pack the theaters for them?
I'm willing to bet, Andrew, that if you put Song of the South out into box offices, I bet that it would make 20 times what Soul made.
But Who Framed Roger Rabbit in theaters?
25 times, I say. They'll never let Jessica back on the big screen.
Oh, never.
She was drawn wrong.
She'll always have my heart.
She was drawn wrong. Robert Downey Jr. says, not just yet, when asked about breaking Marvel news. Why is this connected with what we're saying? Well, because Disney is scrambling to find something that works. They got to get back to the magic. Folks, I'm not here to tell you that this is going to drive you back to the theaters to see Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man again, but I am here to tell you that it's looking much more likely they're going to attempt it. Here's the article by John F. Trent, the editor-in-chief of ThatParkPlace.com. Iron Man actor Robert Downey Jr. seemed to indicate something is in the works with him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe during an appearance on Rob Lowe's podcast. About 14 minutes into the podcast, Lowe begins to chide Downey Jr. for seemingly checking his phone while they are recording. Lowe asks, "Is it some Marvel crap? You going to break some stories here?" Downey Jr. responds, "Not just yet." Now, it could be, Andrew, an absent-minded comment. It could be a throwaway line, a glib quip back to Mr. Lowe. Or it could be a Freudian slip. Don't forget that we've done videos on this channel last year, and there have been those, including Kevin Feige, who have attempted to throw our audience off the trail and say, no, RDJ is not coming back to the role. But we have reported here that our sources, with a 92.5% accuracy rating over the past year, our sources claim that RDJ is already signed. I don't know that to be true, but Andrew, is this the go-to weapon for Marvel to get back on track? We got Deadpool 3 coming out. I think it'll do fine. It's going to use Wolverine to try to pull people in. RDJ, another card in the hand of the deck that Marvel has. Is this the thing that they have to go to win again?
Well, yeah, I think, to your point, I think we know that Deadpool 3 is probably going to do just fine. Is it going to make a ton of money on net? I don't know about that, but bringing back Deadpool, bring back Ryan Reynolds, bring back Hugh Jackman in the role of Wolverine, a role that everybody loved him in, so much so that they altered the character's design in the comics to make him look more like Hugh Jackman instead of the short, stocky guy that he's always been prior to that first movie from Fox. It'll do fine off of the nostalgia bait alone. And it'll probably be a fun enough movie, right?
And the articles will all come out and say Marvel is just fine. See, we told you so.
Yeah,
that's what they'll say.
Right? Yeah. It only took you bringing back your two of your most popular characters and basing the movie around them. That's all it took, right? That's actually hysterical because that will really just paint an even more negative light over the fact that all of the characters they've been trying to push down our throats for the last handful of years, ever since Endgame wrapped up. That those were useless. Nobody cared about them. People weren't.
That's exactly right. It turns out that if you give the audiences the characters they love, then Marvel's fine.
And
When you try to
people
give
love
the fans, the characters that the critics and the journalists like, Marvel's in real trouble.
Well, nobody cares. Well, those people get free passes to your movie anyway, right? Why are you worrying about their opinion?
Exactly.
You're giving them free tickets. They're the access media. They
Maybe
don't
even
have
some
to pay to go
tchotchkes.
see your movie. Yeah, like they probably get a free, I don't know, keychain or something. Who cares, right? But people loved Tony Stark because people grew with Tony Stark. People saw the character evolve. They saw him go through this great arc over the course of 10 years plus, right, for the MCU. And it would make sense for them to, especially at this point, because they've been in dire straits for a while, the MCU has. The last truly awesome performing film they had, most of the money didn't even go to them, right? No Way Home,
Spider-Man, No
that
Way
was
Home,
Sony. That was mostly Sony is where the money went, right? Guardians 3 did well enough.
It broke even.
Yeah, Doctor Strange 2 did fine, but it
Off the
wasn't
back of Spider-Man, No Way Home.
Yeah, it wasn't anything gangbusters, right? They haven't had any of those movies. They were crapping out billion-dollar films practically, for several years. And then ever since the wrap-up of Endgame, it hasn't been that way. And they've been in a downward spiral. And they need to inject some life and enthusiasm into the general audiences and the fans as well. That's something they've lost. And once you've lost even the general audiences, you've got nothing. And that's why their movies have been performing so poorly. So bringing back RDJ, beloved actor in a beloved role, even if they don't directly go with that specific iteration of Iron Man, because I think to do that and to say, oh, we're resurrecting him, I think that would like ruin his arc and ruin having closed the book on that character. He made this wonderful ultimate sacrifice. And I think that would do injustice to his story personally. But if they, as I think a lot of people are probably thinking and would agree with me, if instead, and I'm not a huge fan of the multiversal crap to begin with, but if instead they said, okay, we're going to pull in this variant, right? And it's still RDJ playing the character. Maybe his personality's tweaked a little bit. Maybe he's still in the throes of being an egotistical jerk. Maybe he's still an alcoholic. Not likely that Disney will go that route. It would be a great opportunity to say, hey, Jon Favreau, remember when you wanted to Demon in a Bottle real bad? We'll let you do it now.
I think it's fair to say that for the MCU, the golden goose was choked on woke, and now they're ready to regurgitate and get back on track. But I can tell you right now, Andrew, the audience out there, they're going to come back and say it's too late. I can just tell you, it's going to be flooded with comments. This video is going to be flooded with comments of people saying it's too late. They've lost interest. They're not coming back to the MCU. But I'm also here to tell you that from a business standpoint, what else do they have? They
don't have any other option at this point, right? What else are they going to do?
They've annihilated their new talent.
Say that the last 3 or 4 years didn't happen, like some people unfortunately still wish would happen with Star Wars. It's never going to happen. That'd be great, but it's not going to happen.
What's a new character they've introduced that people have liked, Andrew, in the past 4 years?
For the MCU, nobody.
Exactly. So then that means, just like in a sports team, there are no rookies which have been developed into veterans that you can ride with. There's nothing to go with.
They didn't develop their bench.
So here's why, and in addition to RDJ saying not just yet, and folks, you can think that's too much speculation on our part, but he's also reminiscing in a positive way. Later in the podcast, as Cosmic Book News reports, Downey said, I felt so exposed after being the cocoon of Marvel, where I think I did some of the best work I will ever do. But it went a little bit unnoticed because of the genre. He added, I did myself a favor because the rug was pulled so definitively out from underneath me. And all the things that I was leaning on as opposed to what my understanding of confidence and security was, boy, did they evaporate. And it rendered me teachable, talking about him being willing to be coached and taught, largely by Jon Favreau, by the way, for the role. The article goes on, Andrew, to talk about how Kevin Feige has said that they'll not bring back the Tony Stark that we've seen. I that to me, that's a diversion. I don't expect them to undo the death.
That could be careful language. That could be read as careful language.
I think you're exactly right. They could pull in a variant, or they could pull in Tony Stark from an earlier period of time, because apparently the multiverse doesn't include just the multiverse. It also includes time travel. We've seen that now. So, and that with Loki. So there's no reason that they could not pull in a different Tony Stark from a different time period, who perhaps learns of what his ultimate character arc is and then has to reconcile with that. We don't know, but I think that's worthwhile to look at from a business standpoint. They literally have burned all of their bridges.
They backed
And
themselves into a corner.
right, they're saying, RDJ, save us. You're our only hope. That's what they're doing right now, in my estimation. So, Andrew, the question I give to you then, as we wrap up this part of the video, my question to you is: will it work with the normies? Because the normies are many. Will they come back to the theaters?
And that is a great question. And honestly, I wish I had a more definitive answer. I don't really know. Because if we look at Marvel and DC and Star Wars, these big properties, and we look at the state that they're currently in, they've been on the same trajectory for several years now. And those of us who are longtime fans, I've got a big old shelf with Marvel and DC comic books. I've got a lot of Star Wars figures. I've got all the movies, all 6 of them, right? I'm a big fan of all these fandoms. We were trying to tell Disney for years. We were trying to tell Warner. We were trying to tell all these guys, hey, this is not the way. Right. And they didn't listen. Instead, they spat in our eye and then poked it and then kicked us between the legs at the same time, just to, put a little cherry on top. And so we kind of checked out. We said, all right, fine, we're done. We tried telling you. As fans, we want to give these people our money. I used to spend a lot of money at the comic book shop every single Wednesday. I used to spend a lot of money on Star Wars figures, DC figures, Marvel figures, mostly Spider-Man, but that's fine. That's irrelevant.
If only there were an independent source putting out good content now. If only one could find such a thing.
But the normies don't do that. And so you have to rely strictly on their enthusiasm for the existence of your product on its face. Usually that enthusiasm comes out of a desire to be a part of the popular conversation. Where does that popular conversation stem from? Stems from the fans. The fans are the ones that hype up these things, right? And then all of a sudden, fans' brother starts telling their friends, and their friends start telling their friends. And all of a sudden, even though what these things initially were more of a niche genre of entertainment, all of a sudden it blows up and you're crapping out billion-dollar films.
I could have sworn they don't need fans anymore. I remember that they didn't want the opinions of... Yeah. I remember all of this. Wait a minute.
Like they don't.
I don't think, by the way, Andrew, that we're ever going to get some sort of explicit mea culpa. They're never going to come out and fall on their knees and beg for forgiveness.
No. Instead, not out of Disney.
Right. Instead, they're going to fire 30% of the workforce at Pixar, which they have done. Instead, they're going to beg back some of the biggest and most popular actors who are not divisive, by the way, and don't embrace this kind of stuff. Instead, they're going to delay the movies that feature people who have been venomous in the past and in the present. And that is the best we're going to get out of them. It doesn't have to do with them adjusting their beliefs. It doesn't have to do with them repenting of their DEI sins. It simply has to do with the fact
I'm sorry because they're not sorry.
Right. But they want a legacy, and that legacy is connected to money. And that's the bottom line. Andrew, you are doing something fantastic with a company called the Rippaverse. Can you tell us what's on the horizon?
Well, we've got 1 week left as of Monday in the Alpha Core #1 campaign. Alpha Core #1 is a fantastic super cop story centered around 3 members of what's known as the Alpha Corps. They're a wing of the Florist Park, Texas police force, and they're superheroes, effectively. And it's written by the legendary comic book writer Chuck Dixon. And if you know anything about comics, you know that man's name and you know that man's pedigree. And he brings all of it to this book. Such a fantastic, high-octane story. Joe Bennett is the artist. People who know Invincible Hulk? Or Immortal Hulk over at Marvel, which was the only reason why that book sold, was because of Joe Bennett's fantastic artwork on it, because it was just so incredible. The book is amazing. We've got a week left in that campaign. However, the book will still become available on our Evergreen storefront on Rippaverse.com. Following Alpha Core will be the debut solo book of our kind of breakout characters. So far to date, our most popular character and most requested character to have her own book. She's kind of the first lady of the Rippaverse, Yaira, and the Twisted Twins, Jen and Sylvia Soska. They wrote a knock you out of your seat story with that. And Deborah Carita, who is a phenomenal artist, she brought her fantastic pencils to it. We've got great colors on it as well. The book is incredible. I have the blessing to be the lead editor on it, and I am so excited for this book to get into fans' hands. And that's not even the tip, not even the furthest tip of the iceberg for what we've got in store in 2024. The Rippaverse is just barely getting started. We have several projects in the works that we plan to release this year, and several more that are in the works on the back end that nobody even has a clue about yet. So it's going to be exciting times.
Well, Andrew, I'll tell you one way that I know that you guys are becoming very successful, and that is that your detractors are getting extremely nervous. And I can feel it, and I can see it, and I love it, because we need more of this kind of content being created. So happy for everything you guys are doing over there, and can't wait to see and read more of it. All right, folks, we are not done yet. Due to timing, we could not get Spencer Baculi from Bounding Into Comics in at the same time as we had Andrew. However, Andrew of, creating the new rising comics of the day, and then Spencer covering Bounding Into Comics as the editor-in-chief over there, they're two guys we just couldn't leave out. So let's go now to Spencer, folks, through the magic of YouTube, and we'll get his opinion on what's going on right now. And as said, folks, Spencer of Bounding Into Comics joins us now. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, Pro. Always happy to be here.
Now, Mr. Baculi, you have your finger on the pulse of pop culture over there as the editor-in-chief of Bounding Into Comics.
As much as one can try, yep.
I'm curious if you agree with our assessment, Andrew and myself, that this may not be an absolute home run. There's no givens any longer. Specifically, I would like to know, do you think that Robert Downey Jr., should he come back to the MCU, which, by the way, everything indicates he's coming back, except for one quote from Kevin Feige, who has vested interest in you not thinking he's coming back. So chew on that, folks. If RDJ comes back, do you think that's an automatic excitement level akin to Spider-Man No Way Home, or do you think that permanent damage has been done to Marvel such that they absolutely have to have a grand slam to pull people back in?
I absolutely am of the latter opinion. I think that it's not as extreme as nobody's going to be excited about this, right? Because obviously it's RDJ, everybody loves him. Normie audiences, or the more mainstream audiences, I know they're going to get a kick out of it. They're going to love it. They're going to get super excited. But on the whole, unless this is, like you said, a home run of a film, this is just going to be yet another, for lack of a better term, pathetic play at Marvel to try and get some interest in their films. And as far as what they can do in that film to make it a grand slam, it's funny you bring up Spider-Man No Way Home, because at this point you have to bring him in for Secret Wars and have him reset everything. And that's that. That's the only way you can bring him in. Because if you bring him in a cameo role or to restart the franchise, it's just going to signal to everybody that, you know, Marvel is officially dead. Like Star Wars dead.
Oh man, that's dead. Spencer, yes. Also, Kevin Feige has said they're not bringing back Tony Stark, the character that we've seen. But with all of these multiverses and all of these timelines, we know that they could either bring back Tony Stark from a point early on when we knew him, so say Iron Man 1, something like that, or they can bring him in as a variant. Either way, that Tony Stark would have to reconcile with the Tony Stark who developed into the character, who was willing to be self-sacrificing, even to the point of death, to save the universe. Do you think that RDJ would need to be in an entire movie? You've said that a cameo is not going to cut it. How much do you think he's got to be in the movie for it to be meaningful? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? What he's got to do? Is it got to be a 3-movie deal?
I don't know if you need to go as extreme as bringing him back for a trilogy or even giving him a full movie. But I think you do need to give him a proper character arc within your film, whether that is as a lead character with significant screen time or a side character with, you know, the B plot or even C plot, because it's really going to be about how is Disney using RDJ, right? Is it that cameo way that we were just talking about where it's, hi, I'm RDJ. Remember me? Don't you guys remember how good those movies used to be? Come see this movie because I'm RDJ. That's why you're coming in. You know, the Marvel's X-Men path, if you will. But if they give him a good arc, they make him significant. And the key here, Pro, is treat his character with respect. I think that's going to go a long way. That's what they really need to do more than, you know, or that's playing more of a factor than any length of time that he returns for.
All three Spider-Men had a character arc in No Way Home. What a great point you made, Spencer. What a great point. Okay, so then I guess where I wind up then is, do you think that, well, let me put it this way. From 2019, Marvel was at heights that just unparalleled in terms of franchise success. We've seen them do well with Spider-Man No Way Home, which was a departure from everything else they've been trying to do. Everything else, and I'm going to include Guardians Volume 3 in this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really not reaching the levels that we've seen in the past. And some of them have been just abject, terrible failures. Eternals, Marvels, Black Widow, we can keep going. Spencer, what is the poison pill that manages to kill something that was so powerful as the MCU so rapidly? What killed this thing? That is a potent toxin.
Oh, and the problem here is, I don't think if we're going entertainment toxologists here, I don't think it is a
get the forensics out.
Exactly, get it all out. Jonas, run the science. I know you know what to do. But if we look deeper, it's not so much one pill, right? It is a cocktail. It is the big pharma of the message, the agenda, whether it's a DEI or subverting your expectations or changing the franchise into something it is, objectively not. That's the poison pill that kills whatever interest, that kills your box office, your fan base, all that. Because as you just pointed out, including Guardians in the one group, the only standout there is Spider-Man. And, dollars to donuts, you talk to an average fan, even in our spheres, and they'll say, yeah, all three Spider-Men in that movie got, their characters were treated respectfully. Nobody was mocked. Nobody was turned into, Jake
they had
Skywalker.
A reason to be there.
Exactly.
No empty cameo.
There was absolutely none of that. And so that, as long as whatever they're doing in the future can avoid that, those pills, that cocktail, maybe we can get out of this unscathed. The problem is, as I'm sure is on your mind and all of our viewers' minds right now, is I don't know if they can pull it off. I don't know if they're capable of it anymore.
I don't know that they have the talent available to them any longer.
Oh, no.
However, RDJ definitely is talent, the most premier talent you can find. It's all of the artists, the directors, the producers.
Oh, yeah.
It's everybody else that Marvel seems to have chased away, along with Disney.
Now let me raise one fear here to you, Pro, and to our audience. Now, obviously, yes, RDJ, he is amazing. We all saw him in Oppenheimer. He knows how to act. He's a true star. And yes, his Iron Man is one of the last things people can look back on and say, I liked that about the MCU. No, universally. On the topic of bringing him back and variants and all that fun stuff, for those who've read the comics, you might know that there is a specific arc, a specific variant where Tony had his personality flipped and he became the superior Iron Man, where instead of being the sort of repentant philanthropist that we know him to be nowadays, he became a sort of, I'm trying to think of all the, no tech moguls apply nowadays, but sort of that over futurist, I'm a super dick, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. That sort of, the Iron Man that the normies sort of think of as Iron Man. And that's what I sort of fear might come into play here, especially because there were a lot of rumors around Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness that Tom Cruise was going to cameo as that specific variant. And that got a lot of hype. A lot of people were excited to see that. So I'm in the back of my mind, that is my nagging fear, that they are going to go that route when they bring back RDJ. And
I don't think they can, Spencer, because I think everything they do now has to be calculated around the idea of how can we possibly please the audience as much as possible, because they have alienated the audience to such a degree that desperation has utterly set in. I mean, every part of Disney has
no, absolutely.
Every part. But
there's there's a joke I was making with a couple friends earlier today, where at this point, at every branch of Disney has to have their own nuclear button. And at this point, all of them have to have been hit, right? At Disney, you had, oh no, what do we do? We got to get interest back. Let's, release some projects that celebrate the 100 years of Disney, everything that we love. And they got a lot of points with the Once Upon a Studio short.
Yeah, we found out they can't draw. We found out they cannot draw anymore.
That happened,
Louise.
and then And then they tried again with Wish, and Wish was just a complete disaster. Over at Star Wars, you have, oh man, bring back Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. That didn't work. Bring back Boba Fett. Bring back Ahsoka. Oh, all, like those nuclear buttons are all.
Let me tell you, Spencer. At Star Wars right now, you know, it's so bad that hey, the Rey movie is such a disaster. We can't release it when we wanted to. What do we do to save this?
Following that report. Oh my gosh.
Let's repurpose a season finale of The Mandalorian and turn that into a movie, and then we'll pretend it's a trilogy. Good Lord. That is some scramble.
They are throwing things at the wall, almost more literally now than ever. They are just going, I hope this sticks. I hope you like this. Somebody say this is going to make you come back.
That is a scramble. And then claim, well, we've got more projects under the works than ever before. And it's like, when you start taking episodes of Disney Plus shows and putting them on, the theaters and claiming
stretching them out.
I guess it'll work. All right. Well, Spencer, thank you for stopping by and sharing with us your thoughts on RDJ. Folks, we're here to have an open mind. I recognize that many of you out there say, nope, done, gone, never coming back to Disney. But they're chasing after the normies. They're chasing after the younger generation. They're chasing after those who are persuadable to return. And with Spider-Man No Way Home, they have a template. I would say, though, when it comes to RDJ, it's going to cost them a lot. So it's a big-time risk. It's going to cost them a lot. All right,
you're gonna see they're gonna cut down way more on all their projects. Just the second we see their slate clear up for the next 8 months, we know RDJ is coming back.
That's right, exactly. All right, folks, like, share, subscribe. When you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below, and folks, let us know your thoughts. Put a comment in there. All right, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
This is one big cultural appropriation, don't you think?
What do you mean? We're just celebrating the Year of Medmut.
There's no thing called the Year of Medmut. There's a dog, but not a Medmut. Where did you get this from? Were you reading Time magazine again?
No, but I just figured that since he's so generous, he deserved to be like Star of the Year. The goat, if you will.
No.
You all know goats are hot.
You're just trying to suck up to him to get a membership on our channel, aren't you?
Maybe.
That's so disgusting. I'd say you should be ashamed of yourself, but trying to butter up to him like that... Then again, it is you.
Look, man, butter worked on Jonas.
Putting butter on a second-degree burn isn't a solution. Besides that, there's like another restraining order against you going near anyone in the kitchen. But you know what there isn't a court order for? Subscribing to WDW Pro and bookmarking thatparkplace.com, where John Trent is editor-in-chief, so you can keep ahead of the culture curve and get accurate information, which will also keep you from getting burned by the mainstream media.
So you are saying I did a sick burn?
You're an idiot. Now clean all this up.
Yeah, I'm not cleaning this up.